Hi, it's Rob Brewer at the Brewer Real Estate Group here at Keller, Williams, and West Des Moines. Today I wanted to talk to you about the seller timeline and kind of what you can expect when you list your home. So the first appointment is the listing appointment. That's where we get together and we look at the market statistics and the market in general, and we look at the comps to find out what your home is worth. And then that's the appointment where you and I agree to set the price on your home that'll cause it to sell, and we also sign the paperwork. Now, we'll probably schedule that out a couple of days for your property to go live, a couple of days after we sign the paperwork. That gives my photographer enough time to get on their calendar so that they can come and take professional photos of your home to really make it look great and present it in the best light possible. So that's usually a couple of days after we sign the listing paperwork. And then once we have those photos back, that's when your property will actually go live on the MLS, and other agents will start seeing it, and buyers will start seeing it on the internet and social media. So that's when showings are going to start. So other agents will contact me, and they will schedule times to take a look at your house, and then my assistant Lauren will call and coordinate those times with you, make sure that they work. Unless, of course, your house is vacant. If it's vacant, then we'll just go ahead and show it. But after we get some showings, that's where we solicit the feedback from the showing agents. We want to know what the buyers thought of your house, the condition, the price. Is there anything that we could change in the house to make it a little more appealing? And we also get the agent's feedback as well. What did they think? Because they're seeing a lot of houses too. And so we want their feedback to give us really the best idea of what the market thinks of your home. And once we've showed the home, we'll get an offer on it. That's exciting. You get an offer on the house, and then we'll contact you immediately, and we'll go over all the terms and the conditions of the offer piece by piece, and then we'll formulate, in most instances, a counteroffer that we give to the buyer's agent, who then presents that counteroffer to their buyer. And we go back and forth and we negotiate that until we come to terms, until both parties feel satisfied that they're getting a good deal and that they're getting what they want. So then once you as the seller have accepted the offer, that's known as being in pending or under contract. We have a legally binding contract from the buyer on your house. And once we do have the accepted offer, the under contract offer, the buyer will deposit what's called earnest money, which is a good faith deposit on the buyer's part that says, yeah, they want to move forward with buying this house. Now that earnest money gets deposited into the Keller Williams trust account, and that money is credited back to the buyer at closing time. So once we have the earnest money, then depending on the purchase agreement, the buyers have a certain amount of time to do their home inspections, and that's a buyer cost. The buyer will choose their inspector and when they want to have the inspection done. And then we talked a couple of weeks ago about the inspection process and what that entails. So go back through your emails if you want to catch up on that video. But once we make it through the inspection process, that's one of the big hurdles that we have to go through in selling your home. Then in most instances, it's time for the appraisal. If the buyer is getting financing, their lender will require an appraisal be done. So we'll contact you again and schedule a time that works for you to have your appraisal done. And then also around about that time, the pest inspection or the termite inspection will be done, which is a seller expense. It's customary for the seller to pay for that. So the termite inspection will be done, and then assuming that report comes back all clear, then there's going to be a 2 or usually 3 week period in there where there's not a whole lot of action going on. Everything's happening behind the scenes. That's when the title opinion is being done. That's when your abstract as a seller is being updated with the new information. And that's when the attorneys are drafting documents, doing title searches, all that fun stuff. And then once we get clear title back on your property, then usually within a few days from that time, my transaction coordinator will be contacting you to sign what's known as seller docs. Those are the documents that you as a seller will need to sign in order to consummate the transaction or close the transaction. Things like the deed and the groundwater hazard form, You'll get what's called a seller disclosure or a seller CD that outlines the financial aspect of the transaction, where all the dollars and cents are going to. And then typically about 2 to 3 days before closing, the buyer or their agent will contact the utility companies, and they'll get the utilities transferred over into their name as of the day of closing. And then the buyer will do a final walkthrough or a final inspection, just to make sure that the house hasn't been damaged while you're moving out, or make sure that everything is still as it was when they wrote the offer. And then on closing day, that's the fun day. That's when we actually sign paperwork. The buyer signs paperwork. That's when my transaction coordinator delivers all those seller docs that you signed to the attorney's office or the bank, and the buyer signs their part of the paperwork, and then we're closed. And at that time, that's when your proceeds check, if you're getting a proceeds check, my transaction coordinator will deliver that to you as well. And we're closed, and you've sold and closed on your first home, or on your home. So that's kind of the sales process in a nutshell. If you do have questions, please feel free to give me a call at 515-707-2855. Thank you.